So I asked myself the question, what can I do where I control my income, I control my schedule, and it's something I enjoy doing?
Welcome to the show for female founders and leaders, where we share helpful coaching tips and real life stories of women who lead, build, and own their power. I'm Nicole Overcamp, and this is Becoming Powerhouse.
All right, my powerhouses. So this conversation today is for every one of you who is tired of believing burning out is the price of ambition. Today's guest, Lesa Frye, is a business coach, former top producing realtor, and businesswoman who knows firsthand what happens when success comes at the expense of you. She's got more than 30 years crushing it in real estate, entrepreneurship, and she built a thriving career early on, but behind the scenes was burnt out, overextended, and felt that pressure that so many of us, I think, feel. So her experience, I think, is going to be relatable from so many of us. And Lesa, I am excited to hear what you have to say, the lessons that you have learned, and maybe some tools that we can use moving forward to avoid the cost of fizzling out. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nicole, for having me. I am excited about this conversation.
I love your vibe. I was poking around on your own podcast that you have, your website, and a lot of what you talk about is just not having to sacrifice that burnout. And I really related to early on believing that you had to do the 24/7 hustle harder, sacrifice more to see success. And I did that exact same thing. And of course, being in the financial services industry, and I was a young kid, and they just like hounded it into you that you have to work 24/7 and hustle, hustle, hustle. And when it worked until it didn't, right? Until
Right.
I was like burnt the F out. And so I would love to hear your story, experience. How did all this come to be?
So this came to be, so I'll start with how I even got to be into real estate.
Yeah.
I was in corporate America and in a position where I had worked myself up to basically the ceiling. There was no place else to go.
Yeah.
I was a new business specialist, as they called it, which was basically processing life insurance applications, doing some field underwriting, and servicing the insurance producers.
Okay.
And I capped out, as like I said, as far as where I could go, also capped out income wise. The only other place to go was into management, and all of the managers at that time were in their early 40s. So, of course, they weren't retiring anytime soon. And at the time, my girls were 2 and 6.
Okay.
And so I asked myself the question, what can I do where I control my income, I control my schedule, and it's something I enjoy doing?
Mm-hmm.
And real estate came to mind because when I was younger, my parents and I used to ride around every single Sunday to look at open houses. Now, my mother is 91 and still in the same house that I moved into. We had it built, moved into when I was 2. So that tells you that we had no intention of moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we enjoyed looking at open houses. So that's how real estate came to be. So I got my license. I knew I couldn't just dive right in because I still, my husband's income was great, but we still needed my income as well. So I worked as a dual career agent, meaning I worked in real estate part-time and kept my full-time job. I did that for a year and a half.
Okay.
And then I took the leap of faith and said, okay, I'm all in. And I went into real estate with the thought and the belief that, okay, in order to be successful, I've got to be available for my clients whenever they need me. And I also set a huge goal at the time. And again, keep in mind, this is 35 years ago. Okay. At the time, the top award was what they called the Centurion, and it was 150,000 of gross closed commission. Okay. And I set the goal to achieve that. And so I worked my butt off. Like I said, 24/7. If I had worked 6 days a week and a client called me on Sunday and said, hey, can we go see this house? I'm like, sure. Didn't matter that I'd already worked 6 days, right? So this is what I did. And I achieved the goal. That very first year in real estate, I sold 41 houses.
Yeah.
So no, it took 41 houses to get to 150,000. Okay. Probably now it's like 3. But
Right.
So I did that. And yes, I was proud that I had accomplished the goal. But when I took a step back, I realized I've missed an entire year of my family's life.
Yeah.
And that was not the kind of success that I wanted. Not only that, but I was kind of burned out
Yeah.
because when I wasn't working in real estate, then I'm raising my family, and it's like I wasn't making the list at all as
Mhm.
far as prioritizing myself.
Yeah.
And I knew very quickly, like literally, it only took like that first year full time to realize that was not the way I wanted to work. I was not willing to burn myself out, to sacrifice my family and time with them to
Mhm.
create that success. So that's where it came from.
Yeah, and so after that first year, and I did similar, right? Actually, I think our stories mirror a lot, except it took me like 3.5 years to like realize maybe I should do things differently. I didn't have kids though, so a little bit different. But
Yeah.
yeah, I missed. I think that was the thing. Is like, oh my gosh, like I'm missing out on my relationships. And I don't know if you felt this way, Lisa, but when I was in it, it was like I'm very competitive, and I was like, I am winning, I am proving everybody wrong, and you get this like tunnel vision, right?
Yeah.
The goal, and then everything else just falls apart, including
Yep.
yourself, right? Including your own health. And but it was almost like I needed like this anvil to hit me upside the head and say, like, wait a minute, like life is so much more. But I also didn't want to compromise that quote unquote success either, right? I wanted to
Right.
continue to grow. So,
Right.
how did you pivot that from the continuing your success, but not working 24/7? What were some of the things that you started to shift?
So what I shifted immediately, first of all, it was the decision because
Yeah.
that's the first thing. It's okay. I'm deciding that I'm not working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay. And so very quickly I gave up Sundays. And so it was a mindset shift. And it was, you know what? You can't go see your doctor on Sunday. You probably can't get an appointment with your attorney on Sunday. Buying a house is one of the largest investments that you'll make.
Mm-hmm.
So take time off to go to the doctor. If you take time off to go to other appointments, why not take time off to make the largest financial investment you're going to make? And I know, like a lot of people, the thought is, oh, I'll lose business.
Mm-hmm.
You might lose some.
Yeah.
But what I found was the clients that respected my schedule and my boundaries were the best clients to work with. Those are the people I want to work with.
Right. Yeah. I love
So
that.
that was the first shift that I made. And then really just having more structure.
Yeah.
As entrepreneurs, like, especially when you're first getting started, like you aren't. And so you've got all this free time and you're doing other stuff during the week, like you're running to the grocery store or you're putting a load of laundry in. When if you're just very intentional with your time and keep it business focused, you'll find that you don't need to work all
Mm-hmm.
of those hours.
That's such an important point. And a couple of things is first, I love saying that expression, people rise to the expectations that you set. And if you don't respect your schedule, nobody else is going to.
And
So I love that you learned that earlier on than I did anyway. But it's a critical point because it is us. We are usually the master of our disaster, right? And especially with
exactly.
new
I love
entrepreneurs, it's like we say we're so busy, but like busy doing what? And really sticking to that schedule and owning your time because it is such a flip of a switch when you go
that.
from
Mhm.
somebody else telling you what to do to you telling you what to do. And so, are there any tools or systems that you've incorporated over the years that you have found to be really useful for your time management?
Yeah. So what I teach my clients, my coaching clients to do, first and foremost, is to create what I call a schedule template.
Mhm.
And literally, it's like I've created an Excel spreadsheet where it's Monday through Sunday. And I just have them put in, first of all, decide what days are you working? And then next, decide what hours are you working? And when are your evening appointments? Put in those appointment slots, those times that you're going to take appointments. Not your client says, hey, I want to go see this house on Wednesday at 7. Are you taking evening appointments on Wednesdays? If not, then it's I'm available. If you need an evening appointment, I'm available on Tuesday or Thursday.
Mhm.
Which one's best for you? So create that schedule template. And the other thing that I teach my clients is what I call the Sunday planning method. And
Mm-hmm.
that is on Sundays. And some people don't like to do it on Sunday, but if not Sunday, first thing Monday morning, plan out your week. Look at that schedule template and see if it makes sense. Or do I have some personal things going on that I need to plug in
Mm-hmm.
because we're building the business around our life, not the other way around. And
Mm-hmm.
so personal things that need to go in, those go in first.
Yep.
And if I have to rearrange some things, that's fine. But I know by Sunday evening what my whole week looks like. So that's the best time management
Yeah.
tool.
I agree. Definitely have to be prepared for the week, looking at it. And it gives you like a minute to really realize your white space too and what you can fill in,
Yeah.
right? And make
Yeah.
it productive. So I do a very similar thing. And I could never imagine not looking at my calendar for the week on a Sunday. It's
Right.
just so routine and it's almost like calming, right? As you evolved as a realtor and growing,
Mm-hmm.
at point or did you start to think, okay, I need to invest in help in a team? What was that thought process like for you? Because I know we have a lot of realtors that listen to this. Definitely a lot of clients of mine are realtors and
Mm-hmm.
sole proprietors, right? Like one woman show entrepreneur. And we tell
Yeah.
ourselves this story early on. "Oh, I can't afford to hire help, but I need help. I'm drowning." And what for you helped to pull the trigger on that? And then who was the first person you hired?
So first of all, let me say I did not build like the big team that everyone, not that people are doing now. That
Yeah.
was not my business model that I wanted,
Okay.
frankly.
Yeah.
But when I got to the point of 24 transactions, where it did start to be a lot to handle the paperwork as well as the clients and keep my schedule to something that made sense, that's where I hired. And my first hire was an assistant.
Yeah.
I say my first hire, that was my only hire, was an assistant. And I started with her on a part-time basis and she handled all of the paperwork. And I guess for me, I worked better as a solo
Mhm.
agent. And I did have the belief that, hey, I can carry 40 to 50 transactions with one assistant.
Yeah.
Because the other tools that I had in place, of course, were my contact management system. I had
Mhm.
things automated. So, yeah, because I have stepped away from production. I'm strictly coaching now and servicing my past clients. But my next hire would have been a buyer's agent. That would have been the next phase.
Okay. Walk me through some of the things that you were able to automate.
So the majority of my business came from my past clients in my sphere. Once I had built that, I did an excellent job of building relationships with people. It wasn't, oh, you bought a house with me, now we're done. Let me go on to the next person and I never talk to you again.
Yeah.
I did a really great job of building relationships. And in turn, people sent me referrals. So
Okay.
what I automated was that past client SOI system. So I had emails that went to them every single month. I had items of value mailers that went to them every month. Those things were automated. Of course, the contract management was automated. So those things.
So would you say your success came from your ability to be consistent with
Yep,
staying in front of people on a regular basis to facilitate a lot of referrals over time?
absolutely.
Awesome. And what was your most successful conversion? So was it your email list? Was it holding events for clients? Where did you
Um,
see the most success?
it wasn't, I think my best conversion was conversations. So I made it a point to connect with my clients once a quarter via a phone call. And I know now it's phone call or text, but
Yeah.
that stayed in touch. And that was what
Mhm.
converted.
I love that. A call goes a long way. Now, this sounds crazy, Lisa, but tell me what that phone call was like. And I'm asking you this because so many people now are only doing email, text, social media. And I think it's very foreign for some individuals
Yeah.
to pick up a phone and say, "Hey, what's going on?" What was that cadence like?
So the cadence for me was simply checking in. And if it's, because again, I've been in touch the entire time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
phone call is, hey, just checking in to see how you're doing. How's the family? If they've been in their house for maybe 7 or more years, I am asking the question, is your home still meeting your needs? Let's catch up because we've been talking and they'll tell me what's going on with them. They'll ask me what's going on with me. And then the end of the conversation is simply, hey, remember, I'm never too busy for your referrals.
Love it.
Or sometimes the call is, hey, I've set a goal this year to help 25 families by yourself. Who's the next person you know that needs to buy or sell?
Love
It,
that.
for me, it was like picking up the phone and talking to a friend.
Yep. That is, fortunately, I am blessed to feel the same way with our clients. But the most important part of that is that you are building rapport, having an easy conversation, but asking for help. Guys, those of you listening here, asking for help is not a scary, bad thing.
At all.
Yes. Yeah. And you're not a burden, right? You didn't feel that
Exactly.
way. They didn't feel that way. And I think sometimes that's such a mindset gridlock for a lot of us, especially women.
Yes.
I was joking the other day with a girlfriend of mine, and we were like, man, we need to be smarter about leveraging our network, right? And just
Yes.
asking more bluntly, hey, who do you know here? Or can you help me with X? Like, why don't we do that? And I was laughing because my husband the other day, he picked up the phone, asked a buddy to help him with something in 2 seconds, didn't even pause to wonder.
Right.
He was like going to put him out of place. And then he's, hey, by the way, you should have your investments with my wife. And I cringed. I was like mortified. I'm like, why would you say that? Oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. And who cares? He's going to say yes or no. Why wouldn't I ask? And I'm like, I guess you're right. And women will play the game of mental gymnastics, agonizing over asking someone for a favor or help or a referral or a contact for days, weeks. And I just love so much that you brought that up because I think it truly is something that we need to do more of. But when I see the difference between men and women and how we think about that, there's definitely a really big divide.
Yeah. And it's how we were raised and how we were programmed,
Right.
basically.
Yeah.
And like, it's definitely a mindset shift.
Yeah. That programming.
And so I am big on the mindset piece in my coaching, sure, because I can teach you strategy all day long, but if your thoughts aren't supporting the results that you want to create, it doesn't matter.
And what are some of the mindset tactics that you do teach, especially for women who they're so good, they're so smart, but then everything that holds them back is like their literal fear and like almost like self-captivating anxiety of
Mhm.
actually putting themselves out there and asking for things.
So I have my clients, so they come to the call and it's, what are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Because they'll say, oh, this just isn't working and blah, blah, that kind of thing. And I'm like, what's the feeling that you're having right now? Let's identify that. And so I do teach what I call the model, which is from Brooke Castillo of the Life Coach School. And you have a circumstance, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that circumstance is. And our circumstances are neutral. They're facts. They can't be debated like they would hold up in a court of law. You have a circumstance. And then we create a thought about that circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then our thoughts drive our actions.
Right.
No, let me back up.
Okay.
Our thoughts create a certain feeling.
Okay.
And that's why I'm always asking about the feeling. So when I ask, what are you feeling? They'll say, oh, I'm just anxious or I'm nervous or whatever. I'm like, okay, what's the thought that's driving that feeling? What are you thinking right now? If I called a client today, I'm going to be bothering them. Okay. So your thought is, I'm going to bother them. You're feeling anxious. What action are you taking or not taking because of that thought and feeling? And then those actions are driving your results. Okay. So it all starts with the thought. And so we look at, okay, if you're having the thought, I'm going to bother them, and you're feeling anxious, then what are you doing? You're procrastinating. You're not making your calls. You're being distracted and doing other things. And then what's the result that you're creating? I'm not generating any business. And typically the result mirrors the thought. Okay. So what we need to do is, how do you want to feel when you're calling your client? I want to feel excited. I want to feel confident. Okay. What's a thought that will help you feel confident? So we do a lot of reframing. Another thing that I teach is what's called thought creation. And so let's say that you have a goal to create $20,000 every month. Okay. So the thought is I create $20,000 every month. Then every day I have you take what I call an intentional thought creation prompt and answer it. And so one of the questions might be, why will this work? Give me 10 answers to why this will work. Because what that's doing is helping you to look at what's possible
Hmm.
as opposed to what's not working or
Mhm.
why it won't work. Because that's what our brain offers us, is all the reasons why it won't work. And we
Right.
want to flip that to why will it work? So those are like the biggest mindset pieces. And then there's always gratitude,
Yeah.
always the gratitude piece. What are you thankful for that's going on right now?
Hmm.
Write down 5 things. And then what are 5 things that you want to be true? So let's be grateful for them now and write those down. So that's like a daily morning routine.
Hmm.
But it's all about focusing on what the outcome is that you desire. That's where you put your focus, not on what's not going to work or how it's not going to work or all of that.
No, that's so significant. And I actually hope those of you listening, if this is something you struggle with, that you actually pause, back it up, and write some of those things down and even start practicing, because it's so true. You need to condition yourself to shift the belief. And I always say beliefs aren't facts. And so be really careful about what you're telling yourself.
Right.
Because my goodness, it can
Yeah,
really
we speak
trip you up.
out just like news and it's facts and it's not. It's just a story
Yeah.
that we're telling.
So change the damn story, kids. And what do you think the biggest lie ambitious women have been sold about success is?
That you have to hustle hard for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's you've got to hustle. You've got to be
Yep.
on all the time to create that success.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
if you're not, it's going to disappear.
But it's so interesting because there's so much to that, actually, because you do have to hustle hard to be successful. It just doesn't come. But I think what sometimes happens is, like, you
Mhm.
think you have to do everything, where women, they hustle hard at work, but then they come home and do all of that stuff too. And I've been going down the rabbit hole actually this last month on invisible labor and the cost of that, and
Mm,
how much it's hurting women in wealth, because we have this mindset that you have to earn rest, and you don't need to earn rest. You can take rest.
yeah.
And like, where are you delegating and shifting ownership of certain
Hmm.
things, so that there's inevitably times where you have to do a lot in the beginning. And I don't think there's any magic wand around hard work, but it doesn't mean you need to burn yourself in the ground
Right.
to do that, right? I think it's just so ridiculous. And we've been conditioned to think that. And I think the biggest difference for me, and what I didn't see until way later, is that when I was working around the clock and building my business, when I
Hmm.
first started, I went home and I had to do all the things. I didn't have a wife. And all my male colleagues had a wife. And
Yeah,
that
that
wife did
that
all
is
the other things. And so it was so much easier for them to keep that rigor,
yeah.
because they got rest. I
Yes.
did not. And I think it's so interesting. Again, it's that systemic system that just
Hmm.
assumes we are going to handle it, and our jobs are more assumed versus protected. But I think something that I would love to be able to get to a point where it's no longer assumed, but we're asking the question, why is it assumed?
Hmm.
And how can we really start to change that narrative? Because you don't need to burn yourself into the ground to be successful. That's bullshit. You're so right. But how can we set better expectations for the women coming up behind us, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just conveying the message
Yeah,
and and going first, like demonstrating that you don't have to
yeah,
live that way. Now, yeah.
yeah. How do you teach that to your clients when you're seeing it? Because I think, and I don't know if you feel this way, but for me, I see it before they see it. They don't realize.
Usually, I was talking to a client this week and I looked at her and I said, when's the last time you had a vacation? And she was like, 3 years ago, 2 years ago. I'm like, why? Why? And then it was like a light bulb went off. Oh, because I think it was, she was feeling guilty because she had decided not to work and instead she was doing things in her house.
that still work.
Felt guilty
Yeah.
and didn't even realize it until I asked her that question. And so, yeah, it's when I hear it, I ask questions.
Right.
It's I want them to have that realization themselves, because when you come to the realization yourself, it lands. It lands deeper, and then you will make the decision or make the choice to change.
And I think sometimes it's just what I have experienced too is like they need permission sometimes
Yes.
from someone else. You can do this. It's not bad. Don't feel guilty. Walking through that psychologically. And because we take on so much and it's
Yeah.
hard to untangle because it becomes part of our identity.
That part. Yes.
What would be like a last thought that you would want to leave with everybody listening when it comes to just everything you're so brilliant in teaching?
The last thought that I would leave you with is you can have what I call the both and life. Okay. You can have both a highly successful business and a life that you're obsessed with. A
Mhm.
life where you have time for your loved ones, time for yourself, and time for the things that matter most. It starts with awareness and a decision. The framework that I'm teaching my clients is aligning with your inner CEO. I call it the all framework because we can truly have it all.
Yes.
A, align with your inner CEO. L is learn to create balance and boundaries. And the second L is leverage with systems and support. So that's what I'll leave you with.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. And for everyone listening, I'm going to leave all of Lesa's information, contact information, her podcast in the show notes so that you can connect with her there. And until next time, my powerhouses, continue to be courageous.